Here's a look at what's coming up on NBC4. Stay tuned for a special edition of News 4, followed by It's Academic at 11. And then at 11:30, we begin TNBC, 3 hours of programs designed especially for teenage viewers. College football begins at 2:30 with a match between Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. And we hope you'll join us again for News 4 at 6. Pauses to bid a royal farewell in memory of her princess.
Welcome to this special edition of News 4 Today. I'm Debbie Lockhart.
And I'm I.J. Hudson. In an emotional ceremony marked by extraordinary images and voices, England and the world expressed its grief at the funeral of Princess Diana. Sandy Gilmore joins us now, live from London with details.
2, 1, go.
And good afternoon from London and from Buckingham Palace. In London today, and indeed Britain, indeed throughout the world, has paid its last respects to Princess Diana. And what an extraordinary day it has been. Diana's final journey, her coffin borne on a gun carriage flanked by the Royal House Artillery, Horse Artillery, and the Welsh Guards. And as it passed St. James Palace, the cortege was joined by the Queen's husband, Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, her former husband, Prince Charles, and their 2 sons, Princes William and Harry. Prince William someday will accede to the throne of England. Then joining the royalty, 500 ordinary citizens representing the many charitable organizations supported by Princess Diana. The coffin was then borne into the centuries-old Westminster Abbey, where in a moving service, Diana was remembered as someone who kept the company of kings and queens, but who inspired worldwide affection among ordinary people. The Dean of Westminster said in her death, she commands the sympathy of millions. Celebrities and political stars were plentiful. First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton represented the United States, but no member of the royal family took part in the service. The royal family, of course, had forced Diana from the monarchy after the divorce with Prince Charles. Instead, Diana's brother, the Earl Spencer, talked of Diana's love for her children, but in some very scathing remarks. Unusual in a funeral. Earl Spencer also blamed paparazzi photographers for chasing Diana to the end, and he blamed British newspapers for sneering at her good works in life. The Earl Spencer said that as a girl, Diana was given the name of Hunter, and that in the end, she became the most hunted woman in a generation. Well, a counterpoint to the traditional of course, Anglican religious service, Diana's friend Elton John sang a very poignant rewritten version of her favorite song, Candle in the Wind. The words, "And your footsteps will always follow her along England's greenest hills." So today's funeral, and the burial today, ends an extraordinary week for Britain. It was a week which really began in shock, and it ended with a monarchy so aloof and isolated finally virtually forced to join the public's unexpected outpouring of sympathy for a very beloved princess. Reporting from London, I'm Sandy Gilmore. Back to you.
One of the lasting images of the funeral, Princess Diana's sons, the young princes. They appeared just after 5 a.m. Eastern Time, Prince William and Harry, flanked by Prince Charles, Prince Philip, and Diana's brother, Earl Spencer. They followed the cortege for the final part of the procession, or most of the walk. Prince William kept his eyes toward the ground, while Prince Harry kept close to his father during the 1 mile they joined the procession.
Well, the funeral procession was reminiscent of John Kennedy's funeral, with the casket borne on a caisson pulled by a team of 6. The cortege proceeded from Kensington Palace, which was Diana's residence. The coffin bore a bouquet of white lilies, Diana's favorite flower, and an envelope labeled simply Mummy. As we said, Diana's sons joined the cortege before it reached Abbey, where the pallbearers brought it into the Abbey for the service.
As we watched the events unfold this morning, it was as if each moment were more impressive than the next. Perhaps one of the most poignant moments of Diana's service was when her brother, Charles Spencer, spoke. His words were filled with passion, sadness, and anger.
There is no doubt that she was looking for a new direction in her life at this time. She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers. I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down. It is baffling. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this: a girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. She would want us today to pledge ourselves to protecting her beloved boys, William and Harry, from a similar fate. And I do this here, Diana, on your behalf. We will not allow them to suffer the anguish that used regularly to drive you to tearful despair. And beyond that, on behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as you planned. We fully...
England's rose, may you ever grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind.
He called her England's Rose, Elton John's musical tribute to Princess Diana. The singer and the princess had been close friends for more than 2 decades. John rewrote this anthem and has now dedicated it to Diana. We'll hear more of his tribute as our broadcast continues. As the casket containing the People's Princess made its way through the streets of London, the people of London again showed their love for Diana. They tossed flowers on the hearse and clapped for the princess as she passed by, on her way to her final resting place.
Queen Elizabeth and the royal family began taking an active part in England's national mourning late this week. The Queen delivering a televised tribute to Diana yesterday. Now the Queen, Prince Philip, and Prince Charles may have recovered from some of the popularity they lost earlier when they were isolated in Scotland. Prince Andrew, with his wife, the former Sarah Ferguson, also joined the family procession. Over 1 million mourners lined the streets of London in an outpouring of grief. The sounds of wailing and sobs from the crowd marked the beginning of the procession. Many arrived before dawn to view the casket as it moved along the 3.5-mile journey from Kensington Palace to Westminster Abbey. They watched in utter silence, a silence broken only by the muffled tolling of a bell each minute and the soft clapping of horses' hooves. Later in Hyde Park, thousands watched the ceremony on a huge television set. Also, a crowd marked by silence. Now for the latest from London, Steve Handelsman joins us live on the phone.
Steve, tell us what the mood of the crowd is. Oh, Steve. Steve, you're able to hear us in London. Apparently we're having a little audio trouble right now with Steve. We'll try and take care of that a little bit later.
In the meantime, here in D.C., right now, mourners gather at the British Embassy to pay respect to Princess Diana.
Barbara Harrison joins us live now with a reaction. Barbara?
Hi, Dave, Debbie. The crowd here, in fact, 2 crowds here are really growing. One here at this monument of flowers that continues to get larger and larger as it has since people first began bringing flowers here on Sunday. And then there is another crowd behind us at the west gate of the British Embassy waiting to get inside to sign the condolence book. People are coming here with heavy heart. You can see it in their eyes. There's hardly a dry eye that I have seen here, and everyone has come with a message. Some with messages written with their flower bouquets, some with song. I talked with many of them and got an idea of what they were feeling and how they wanted to pay their respects to Princess Diana.
It's extraordinary, I think. I think it proves that she really did belong to the world and not just to Great Britain.
Well, we wanted to come down and see for ourselves and to someday be able to show our children what we knew about Diana.
I heard Elton John sing his favorite song to her, and I come here to sing her my favorite song.
The gentleman said that he had heard Elton John sing his favorite song, and he wanted to sing his song for Diana, and I wasn't sure what we were going to hear, but he started to sing the alphabet song, A, you're adorable, B, you're so beautiful. It was so emotional that all of us here turned to listen to him, and he obviously was very moved at his loss. He said that he will miss Diana. And we will stay here and talk to more people, and IJ and Debbie will come back to you a little bit later.
All right, Barbara.
Just shows a lot of personal attachment there to Diana.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, the British Embassy is also giving local mourners an extra day to sign the Book of Condolences. It has added Sunday to accommodate people wanting to express their sorrow over Princess Diana's death. Today and tomorrow, mourners may write in the book set up in memory of Diana from 10 in the morning until 7 at night.
Well, ahead on News 4 Today, our coverage of the funeral of Princess Diana continues.
And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
You're watching News 4 with Debbie Lockhart, IJ Hudson, Darian Chapman Sports, and Andrew Humphrey Weather. This is News 4 Today, working for you.
September 21st is a very important day.
At LaBelle, AIDS Walk, take one.
A 10-kilometer walkathon to raise money to fight AIDS.
We're rolling.
It's AIDS Walk Washington. To register, call 202-332-WALK, benefiting Whitman Walker Clinic.
It was a dream he never lived to see. But on September 14th, 1997, that dream will become reality. But before the Skins kick it off, News 4 is your guide to the new Jack Kent Cooke Stadium. From hot dogs to cold beer, from how to get in to how to get out. Find out what's new and what you can expect at the new Jack Kent Cooke Stadium. All next week, only on News 4 at 6.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of a royal farewell, the funeral of Princess Diana. It has been an unforgettable morning for millions of people around the world, climaxing in the service at Westminster Abbey and the eulogy by Diana's brother, with its strong direct attack on the press and his pledge that the media will not be allowed to ruin the lives of Diana's sons.
Well, Diana is also being remembered today in a service at Washington National Cathedral. Let's go to reporter Bob Beard, who's live at the cathedral. Good morning, Bob.
Yes, good morning, Debbie and IJ. Yeah, you might call this America's Westminster Abbey. This is Washington's National Cathedral. A memorial service for Princess Diana will get underway about 1 o'clock this afternoon. It will include readings from the British ambassador to the United States, Sir John Kerr, tribute by the Washington Post's Catherine Graham, who was a great friend of Princess Diana. Also a reading from a child in the D.C. schools. With us right now is the very Reverend Nathan Baxter. He is Dean of the National Cathedral here. Reverend Baxter, why did you decide to hold this memorial service today?
We were quite moved by the tremendous outpouring of grief and of concern, as well of admiration for Princess Diana, across all kinds of lines, racial and gender and nationality, and we felt there was needed a pastoral response.
You were going to preach the sermon here today. Quickly, what are you going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about the need for our following the goodness we saw in her life.
Right. Dean Baxter, I appreciate taking the time to talk to us this afternoon. Of course, thousands of area residents woke up very early this morning to watch live coverage of the funeral on television. One of them was the Bruff household in Burke, Virginia. Linda and Eddie Bruff, their teenage son and daughter. Linda Bruff and the family shed many tears this morning, especially when Elton John sang his moving tribute to Princess Diana. The Bruffs met Princess Diana while living in the United Kingdom in 1991, and here is their reaction to the funeral this morning.
It's history, and I wanted to see how many people actually love Diana, and we all do. Even if you've seen her in a crowd, you talk to her as we did, you love Diana. She had that about her. She was a people's princess.
Watching this funeral, I mean, it just hasn't kicked in that she's actually dead yet. I mean, I still think of her as alive and helping everyone out, but after watching this, I mean, it's just really, really touching. I mean,
I feel like an Elvis fan, and I'm gonna say she's still alive 30 years from now, but she's really not.
Doors here at the National Cathedral open at 11:30. 4,000 people or more are expected. I'm Bob Beard, live at the National Cathedral. IJ, back to you.
Thanks, Bob. As we've said, the National Cathedral will hold a memorial service in remembrance of Princess Diana a bit later today. That service begins at 1 o'clock at the National Cathedral in Northwest Washington. It is open to the public. Debbie?
Well, the death of another humanitarian continues to touch people around the world. Thousands in Calcutta gathered to mourn the death of Mother Teresa and to get a final view of her. Meanwhile, the Vatican has announced that Pope John Paul will celebrate a Mass for her today near Rome. Reverend Billy Graham says the Roman Catholic nun had a moral and spiritual impact on the world. Here in Washington, local mourners of Mother Teresa are invited to sign her book of condolences. The Embassy of India is making the book available through Monday from 10 in the morning till 4 p.m. Mother Teresa, who helped heal the sick and feed the poorest of the poor, dead at the age of 87.
Here's a comforting thought. Comfortable Sealy bedding from The Hub. And right now, The Hub has this luxurious Sealy Posturepedic queen-size mattress and box spring, both for $379. That's the best value in town. Because we do things the Hub way, we'll take your old bedding away before it does away with you. Another comforting thought. Miss our Labor Day sale last weekend? No problem. We've extended it through September 7th with big savings on virtually everything and no finance charges for a year.
Can't beat the thrill. The Basement's birthday sale week is really something special because we've brought in a basement full of brand new brand name fashions. Can't beat the thrill. There's so many great surprises. It kind of feels like it's your birthday. Now, have I missed anything? Oh. This Saturday, save 60 to 70% on top quality brand name luggage, garment bags to vertical suitcases for just $19.99 to $79.99. Birthday sale going on now.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of a royal farewell, the funeral of Princess Diana. The procession and the service in Westminster Abbey was watched by millions of people around the world. Diana's friend Elton John sang, and her brother Earl Spencer delivered an extraordinary eulogy that included an angry attack not only on the paparazzi, but on the media in general, saying they were on the other end of the moral spectrum from Diana.
And thank you for joining us for the special edition of News for Today, the weekend edition. Our time now is 10:21, and summer hasn't really left us yet.
No, not really. It's going to be quite warm today. We have a few clouds over us right now. Temperatures mostly in the 60s, but it's going to be pretty pleasant. It's going to be comfortable at least. Humidity is going to remain low. Right now we have a temperature of 67 here in Washington. Mostly cloudy skies we have over the area, but some sunlight. is reaching some parts of the earth around the Washington area, especially down to the south. Southern Maryland has a bit more sunshine than areas to the north. Here's a look live outside right now with our city cam on top of the Waterfront House in Northern Virginia. The temperature currently is 67 degrees. The dew point is pretty far away from the temperature, meaning that it's pretty dry outside. Dew point temperature now is 53, and we have a relative humidity of around 61%, which is relatively low for this time of year and for this portion of the day. So it feels pretty nice outside right now. It's going to feel pretty nice later this afternoon. There are a few light showers in our midst. Here we are in Washington, D.C., mainly to the north and west of Washington. Rain mostly falling in these green areas that you see here across the eastern panhandle of West Virginia and around Winchester, down through the Shenandoah Valley, down towards Luray, also around Hagerstown and other portions of northern Maryland. But these are going to break up as the morning goes along. We'll see mostly cloudy skies through the day, a temperature of 67 here in Washington, 65 degrees for our friends in Baltimore, and 62 degrees over at Dulles Airport. Everyone pretty much rising into the 60s at this hour. We'll see temperatures nicely into the low 80s to around 85 degrees here in Washington over the next few hours or so later this afternoon. Here's a look at Hurricane Erica as it continues to spin away down the Atlantic at some of the Caribbean islands. There are still hurricane warnings in effect for Antigua and also for Montserrat. And as we take a bit of a closer look, you can see its position at 18.7 north and 61 west. Winds are 80 miles per hour, and this is the way it's projected to move during the day today. By the way, there is also a hurricane watch out for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Over the course of the weekend, it will be traveling just to the northeast of many of the Leeward Islands, and then by Tuesday, travel to the northeast also of Puerto Rico. And here's the way things look around our area for this afternoon. Temperatures around 85 degrees with more increasing clouds, but we'll see a bit of sunshine. Then for tonight, partly cloudy skies. It's going to be cool. Temperatures around 63 degrees. And then for tomorrow, just as warm with even some more sunshine for Sunday. Temperatures still around 85 and 80s, and also dry conditions through parts of next week, a good part of next week, as a matter of fact.
It looks like we got great weather for a local celebration, too.
Yes, we do. Great.
This weekend marks the 12th annual Black Family Reunion.
And it's a celebration of family and culture on the Mall. And Susan Kidd is standing by live with all the happenings. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, IJ. Well, the family reunion actually doesn't start until noon, but people are already beginning to come. Some of the food stands are already selling things, and there's going to be a marketplace with lots to buy. The official hours are 12 to 6, but you know how Washington tourists are, and Washingtonians are coming in early today to enjoy what really is a wonderful family affair that finds its national event here in Washington, D.C. Now, Sheba Haley is with me now, who's sort of running things out here today. Tell us about some of the things that folks can do if they come down here.
Okay, aside from the only thing they really have to buy would be food unless they bring a lunch. Otherwise, we have the marketplace, which has craft vendors selling all kind of things from African artifacts to t-shirts. We also have free health screenings at the Health Pavilion. We've got a lot of themed pavilions which range from children to education, teens, sports, young adults, and we also have an entire stage which is donated to local talent, which will be happening between 12 and 6 today.
I think the best thing about the Black Family Reunion is that while it really is a good time, there is a lot of meaningful community activity that people can get involved in. One of the things that you can come down and do today is come to our News 4 Volunteer 410. You can sign up and become a volunteer for several organizations, AIDS Walk, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, several other charities. We hope you'll come down today and meet some News 4 folks who'll be here to greet you and sign autographs and that kind of thing, and also to sign up as a volunteer to make a difference, because that's really what the family reunion is all about. So we'll be back in about half an hour, and we hope to see you down here today. Debbie, IJ?
Hey, Susan, you and your family are the host family for this year.
We are the host family, and my family's coming down, but not quite this early. They'll be down a little later today. You'll probably see them wandering around.
We will see you.
All right. Thanks, Susan.
Still ahead on this special edition of News 4 Today, our coverage of the funeral of Princess Diana continues.
The world pauses to bid a royal farewell in memory of a princess. Welcome back to this special edition of News 4 Today. I'm Debbie Lockhart.
And I'm I.J. Hudson. Millions in the streets of London, millions in their homes watched as the Princess of Wales joined the ages. The event was a mixture of ritual for royalty and moments for the wide spectrum of people she touched with her life. Here are some moments from the procession and funeral for Princess Diana.
Seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in, and your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
And at Buckingham Palace this morning, a break from protocol and tradition in honor of Diana. For the first time in history, the Union Jack flew at half-staff over the palace. By order of the Queen, the red and gold royal standard won't be taken down until midnight. Very little information was given out about Diana's coffin, but it was revealed that the casket was extremely heavy, being lead-lined and weighing 40 stones or 560 pounds. Its weight was also obvious as the pallbearers struggled to carry it from the caisson into Westminster, and then bore it again through the Abbey during the funeral service.
One of the most memorable moments of the service was when Diana's brother, Charles Spencer, spoke. As a representative of her family, he spoke of his loss and reflected on his sister's life.
Diana was the very essence of compassion, of duty, of style, of beauty. All over the world, she was a symbol of selfless humanity, a standard bearer for the rights of the truly downtrodden, a very British girl who transcended nationality, someone with a natural nobility who was classless, and who proved in the last year that she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life. We will all feel cheated, always, that you were taken from us so young, and yet we must learn to be grateful that you came along at all.
The Earl also vowed he would protect Diana's young sons, Princes William and Harry, from the press and from being swallowed by a life of royalty, so that, in his words, their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition. Well, let's take a look at what's going on down at the British Embassy.
And Barbara Harrison is standing by with reaction from the folks out there. Barbara?
I am here at the British Embassy with the Consular for Political Affairs, Anthony Carey. We were just talking about the funeral. He too, as I did, and many of those of us who are here today, got up early this morning to watch the funeral in London. Tell me, what do you make of this crowd here, Mr. Carey?
Well, we have been overwhelmed by the response in this country to the death of Princess Diana. I think it's clear that she was a woman who had a very particular way of reaching out to people, to ordinary people, and seemed to touch a particular emotion in people. And that was felt not just in Britain, but all over the world, and it's been clear here. And what I've been most impressed by, I would just say, is that it's been a crowd of all kinds, of multiracial, all ages. She seemed to appeal to all sorts of people, and it's been a very unifying experience and a very helpful one for us in the embassy in helping us to come to terms with the tragedy.
Now, the monarchy, the royals, have been criticized in this last week. They stayed at Balmoral Castle up in Scotland, and many thought that they should have come and shown their grief. How do you feel about that?
Well, I understand the anger, but I do think it's very unfair on the royal family. I think in Britain we've traditionally had a much more buttoned-up style than in America. People don't display their emotions so much, and that's been true of the royal family in particular.
And yet much of the criticism came from people in England, the English people who understand the monarchy.
Well, that's true. Well, I think the style is maybe changing in England, and maybe Princess Diana was a part of that change of style. But I think the monarchy have felt slightly bewildered by the anger of people, but I think that they are responding to it.
Now, there will be a service later today here that you are inviting everyone who's out here and those who are watching us on television to come to. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, well, we're very grateful to the Dean of the National Cathedral for agreeing he's decided to hold a service and asked if we would participate, and the ambassador will be reading a lesson. I think Catherine Graham will be making an address, and also Bill Richardson, the US ambassador to the UN, will be reading a lesson. It is no tickets, it's first come, first served, and I very much hope that it'll give people another way to channel their emotions and to express their grief for the death of Diana.
And that will be at the Washington Cathedral at what time?
It's at 1 o'clock with the doors opening, I think, at noon.
First come, first served, no tickets necessary. Absolutely. Well, this crowd is certainly growing. Those that wait up at the west gate of the embassy to get in to sign the condolence book, how long will they be able to continue to go in?
The book will be open tonight until 7 o'clock, and then it'll be open again tomorrow, again from 10 o'clock to 7.
All right. Debbie, IJ, this is Barbara Harrison reporting live from the British Embassy.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, it is a day not likely to be forgotten by any of those who witnessed it, either in London or on television.
Let's get the latest now from London and correspondent Sandy Gilmore. Sandy, what's the mood there?
IJ, it's a very poignant mood, as you can imagine, particularly earlier when Diana's casket went by, drawn by the horses. And I think that, as I say, it's a very emotional experience that the British have been going through this past week. And really, you know, it seems that it's not quite over. We still have mourners coming here, placing flowers, notes, letters, various remembrances for Diana. But today, a special day, particularly for the normally reserved British, who virtually forced the monarchy to come out of its isolated shell up there at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, where it had been ever since the death of Diana. Forced them to come down here to London a day earlier and come to the streets to meet the people and talk to them and share in the grief, and then also to thank the people for this tremendous outpouring of love and affection for Princess Diana. But a couple of million people, apparently, we understand, lining the funeral procession route as Diana's casket was borne along up to Westminster Abbey, and the route from London up to the Althorpe Estate, some 70 miles north of here, where the princess is being buried, we understand, even as we speak, in a very private family ceremony. IJ, Debbie?
There are a lot of people there that just don't want this moment to end. They don't want to go away. They want to keep this magic alive.
I think that's right, and I think that's it. Of course, for the most people obviously could not get inside Westminster Abbey, although some so-called ordinary people were inside, particularly the 500 or so who represented the various charity groups that Princess Diana had supported. But those along the route, some of them were able to hear the remarks, some of them watching on giant television screens in Hyde Park. They were applauding at some of the remarks that had been made inside the funeral service, particularly by Princess Diana's brother, the Lord Spencer, the Earl Spencer, who was very critical and saying in so many words that the paparazzi and the tabloid newspapers in Britain, in effect, had killed her sister. Now, he has said that before in an immediate reaction after her death, but it was rather astonishing to hear him actually say this in a funeral service. But all in all, a very poignant and traditional Anglican service there at Westminster Abbey, and the final blessings, of course, said there for Princess Diana.
All right, Sandy Gilmore in London.
Well, nothing symbolized Diana's wide circle of friends more than the varied assemblage at her funeral. It resembled the sort of crowd John Kennedy was able to attract to Washington. There were, for instance, the world-famous celebrities, including a Hollywood contingent, Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise, and Tom Hanks. And there were stars from the world of music as well, including Sting, Luciano Pavarotti, and Elton John, of course, who sang at the service. First Lady Hillary Clinton represented the United States at the funeral. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, a friend of Diana's, was invited to the service. The British political contingent was led by Prime Minister Tony Blair. And head on News 4 today, our coverage of the funeral of Princess Diana continues.
We hear from our customers every day, and customers tell us how important quality is, how important service is. The pledge that hangs in all of our stores is a visible reminder that says customers have the right to quality and to service, and that their satisfaction is guaranteed every time they shop. And if for any reason we disappoint a customer, we will do everything we can to make that customer happy. That's what a guarantee means. It's that simple.
Job lost at Zip? Want to get your foot in the door? Going nowhere fast? Need a new job? Find it Sunday, September 7th in the Washington Post Mega Employment section, the biggest employment section of the year, with more jobs in one place on one day than ever before. So if you need a change, look for Mega Employment this Sunday in the Washington Post. You've got to look in the right place to find the right job.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of a royal farewell, the funeral of Princess Diana. With more than 1 million turning out on London streets, it was all the more extraordinary because Diana was not a royal. She was eulogized in what was very much a people's funeral, where the Queen and others of the royal family were almost bystanders. And for many, the most extraordinary moment was the eulogy by Diana's brother, which included a fierce attack on the media.
He vowed the media will not be allowed to ruin the lives of Diana's sons the way he said they tried to ruin Diana's. Let's talk about that in the funeral with journalist Chuck Conconi. Chuck?
What did you think about it? What was your first reaction?
I thought it was just an amazing eulogy. I mean, everyone has said that. It seems almost superfluous to say that. But eulogies are normally filled with platitudes and quotes from the Bible or quotes from dead poets. This one was so much different. This was him talking about how much he loved his sister and throwing the gauntlet down to the royal family and said, these boys are going to be more like she wanted them to be.
Do you think that the royals are going to, I guess, basically live up to what Princess Diana's brother asked of them?
I think they haven't much choice. I think it's going to be very hard for the Queen. In some ways, though I'm not a royalist in any way, you have to sympathize with her because she has always lived her life the way to duty and the way she thinks it should be lived. And the public have asked for something very different this time, and I think that's going to make a very major change in the British monarchy.
Has that wall been thinned somewhat between the royals and the common people?
Oh, definitely it's been thinned. I think today's funeral did something to, or the whole week did something to the monarchy from which it will not recover. And if it tries to go back to the old ways, the monarchy then will fade and go away, because I don't think the people of Great Britain will let them do that ever again.
Did you find some irony in the fact that this is seen by millions and millions of people, broadcast by the media, and there her brother is sort of bashing the media, putting a great mantle on them?
Well, I think when you look at it, it also shows what a great job the media can do, because I was up bright and early this morning with my wife, and you looked at this and say, this is the media at its best. This is what we do best. And sure, there are excesses, but this will be debated for months going on from now, but it was, again, an example of what it does best. We looked great today.
Overall, do you think that there will be a difference in the way that the quote-unquote paparazzi covers the royal family, namely the princes?
Well, I don't know. The paparazzi is a strange breed, and those tabloids are strange. I can't imagine that they're really going to change. I do think what's going to happen is that if you notice today, the cameras are attracted to the young boy. They're attracted to Prince William. He has so much of what his mother had. It's going to be very hard to keep them away from him.
So he may have a halo effect here for a while, and we'll see perhaps some of the same coverage eventually coming from major media on the other royals. Right. Thanks to Chuck Conconi for joining us.
Thank you. Ahead on News 4 today, our coverage of the funeral of Princess Diana continues.
Why does Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile have the most advanced digital network on the East Coast? So your cell phone will work here. And out here. It's perfectly clear here. In fact, to ensure that you'll have enhanced voice clarity and privacy, we built a digital network of monumental proportions. After all, a cell phone is only as good as the network it's on. Choose Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile.
It's shocking news. One of Virginia's finest furniture stores is going out of business. Kohl's Drexel Heritage in Fairfax must liquidate $3 million of fine furniture, Oriental rugs, and grandfather clocks at savings up to 70% off MSRP. It's your opportunity to buy top quality furniture at tremendous savings. Hurry to Kohl's Drexel Heritage's going out of business sale, 9900 Lee Highway in Fairfax. Don't miss the savings of a lifetime.
Before you go out with your umbrella, you got to go with Washington's #1 meteorologist, Bob Ryan, working for you weeknights on News 4.
All right, our time is 10:48. Andrew is here with our forecast for today, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. We have a few clouds over us right now, but it's going to be warm and comfortable later this afternoon, it looks like. Temperatures right now in the 60s, rising close to 70 degrees. We have a temperature of 67 here in Washington. A few clouds overhead and even a few sprinkles and light rain to the north and west of Washington for folks in northern Maryland. But we'll see mostly to partly cloudy skies during the rest of the day. High temperatures today around 85. Looking outside right now, we do have a few clouds over us, but it is quite comfortable outside. The relative humidity is relatively low at 61%. Here's a live look at the National Cathedral with our city cam, which sits on top of the Waterford House in Northern Virginia. A temperature of 67 here in Washington, and temperatures are rising into the 60s throughout much of Maryland and Virginia at this hour. Temperature of 65 for our friends over in Baltimore and 62 degrees at Dulles Airport. Wide look at the satellite picture and also a look at the radar shows that we have a bit of rain to our north and west in portions of northern Maryland, also just exiting the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. A few light showers in upper Montgomery County and on down to the southwest and portions of Virginia, northern Fauquier County. Mainly in these green and darker blue sections is where some of the light rain is falling. But for most of the day, we will see mostly to partly cloudy conditions, 1 or 2 sprinkles here and there. Here's the afternoon forecast. A temperature of 85 degrees later this afternoon, and temperatures later for tonight will dip down again into the upper 50s in many of the suburbs, lower 60s here in town. And here's a look at the next few days. To round out the weekend, things will be nice for tomorrow, comfortable once again and warm. Temperatures still around 85. And next week, dry, plenty of sunshine, high temperatures in the 80s, cool nights with lows in the 60s. So not a washout for today, just a few sprinkles, bit of light rain going on. Might see 1 or 2 sprinkles here in Washington, but still overall pretty nice.
Great day for an outing.
Okay.
Yep. And ironically, News 4 is the official sponsor of this year's Black Family Reunion. It's all happening today and tomorrow.
And we've got great weather for it, and Susan Kidd is standing by live on the mall, and she's there to tell us all about the festivities. Susan.
Once again, well, I'm certainly hoping that we're not going to see a few raindrops down here, although it's a little cloudy out here, but everybody's got their fingers crossed that we're going to have wonderful weather for the Black Family Reunion. It is a cultural event, but it's an event that attracts all ethnicities. All kinds of folk come down to take part in the marketplace where there are lots of good things to buy, and you can see some of the food that's available for the folks who come down today. The official hours of the Black Family Reunion are 12 noon to 6 o'clock today and tomorrow, but folks have already started coming out, and the lines aren't too long right now for the food, so it might be a good time to come on down. We also want to invite you to come by our News 4 Volunteer 4 tent. You can volunteer for a number of organizations to help clean up Woodlawn Cemetery, for the AIDS Walk, for a wonderful group called For the Love of Children, a program called See Forever. So you can come right down, you can meet some of the folks who work at News 4, you can sign up at our Volunteer 4 desk, and after 12 o'clock you can also call 213-6465 or 213-6210. Let me give those to you again, 213-6210 or 213-6465 to become a part of Volunteer 4 and make a difference in the community. And on a day like today, when this is all about family and celebration, it'd be a good time to go that extra mile and sign up and do some good community work. We hope to see you down there. I'll be down here. Are you guys coming down?
You betcha. All four of us. Andrew, IJ, myself, and Darian.
We'll see you here.
Thanks. Speaking of Darian, you got sports and the Orioles.
Yep, they're playing well. We'll get right to it because they're having a good time up in New York City, where they seem to be having a good time against the Yankees. It would appear they are enjoying their New York state of mind, especially one Jimmy Key, who got a ton of offensive support and won his first game at Yankee Stadium since clinching Game 6 of last year's World Series. The Birds dropped a 13-9 spanking on the Yankees. The lead is now 8.5 games, the largest it's been in over 2 months. I'm taking you out to Yankee Stadium. That's where the Birds were not just beating the Yankees, they were beating them up. Top first, Birds lead at 1-0. That's Cal Ripken, who sends a line drive right back in Andy Pettit. The line drive hits him square in the mush. B.J. Surhoff, he gets forced at second base, but Andy Pettit was one hurting unit, folks. And you can see how concerned Mr. Cal Ripken was on the play. He left with a split lip and some bruising. He'd be replaced by Hideki Arabu, which would turn out to be a good thing for the Orioles. Bottom first, Yankees trail at 1-0. You're looking at Chad Curtis, who's going to pop one up in foul territory, third base side. The captain, Cal Ripken, has the radar locked on, ranges over to the Oriole dugout, and makes the catch before getting a helping hand from pitching coach Ray Miller. Cal Ripken and the Birds, they were getting it done on both ends, offensively and defensively. Still bottom first. The Yankees now lead at 2-1. That's New York's George Posada. Goes down and slaps the fly ball to shallow left center, but Brady Anderson is going to make a play for you. He's going to come in with the sliding catch to end the inning. The Orioles, they go on to beat the Yankees by the final of 13-9. That lead in the American League East now stands at 8.5 games. Now, tomorrow at the U.S. Open Women's Final, you'll be able to see Venus, that is, in two places at once. First, there's the celestial Venus, which is parked just to the left of the moon. Then there's the rising star, 16-year-old Venus Williams, who will face Martina Hingis to comprise the youngest Grand Slam title in history. Williams gets there by upsetting 11th-seeded Aryna Spurleya to the Arthur Ashe Tennis Stadium. We go. You want to talk about zoning in? What about Venus Williams and Aryna Spurleya? Now watch this. They're kind of getting to know one another during the changeover. Hello. Apparently they were just very much focusing on the task at hand. This is unseeded Venus Williams serving in the near court to the 11th seed Aryna Spurleya. Now, Venus Williams can probably give it to you any way you want. She can slug it out from the baseline, kind of rally back and forth, take as much time as you need, or she can come to the net and have a little fun on what is known in the game as the sweet backhand drop volley. Williams won the first set at 7-6, but she dropped the second at 4-6. That's Aryna Spurleya awaiting the second match point for Venus Williams. Once again, the two slug it out from the baseline. We could sit here all day talking about this, but this time it's Spurleya that will end at this point with the unforced error coming up on this next shot right down the line. Venus Williams becomes the first unseeded women's finalist at the U.S. Open in 19 years by upsetting 11th-seeded Aryna Spurleya 7-6, 4-6, and 7-6. Williams will get another teeny bopper, top-seeded and 16-year-old Martina Hingis, that in tomorrow's final. In a matter of hours, we will find out about the Maryland Terrapins and how they will ring in the Ron Van der Linden era in College Park as the Terps open their season against Ohio University today at Byrd Stadium. Now, if training camp is any indication, good things could be in store for Coach Vandy. Let me take you out to College Park, where one thing is very, very obvious. The Terps are ready to lay a licking on somebody else. Just ask receiver Bryn Boggs, who just received the Hallmark greeting from his teammate, defensive back Quincy Frazier. It has been 9 months since Ron Van der Linden took over in College Park, and in that time, Coach Vandy has established a new football philosophy as well as an overhauled game plan. The results remain to be seen, but Coach Vandy he thinks things are looking very, very good.
I've really been impressed with the way our team has bought into the new philosophies, the new offense and defense. They've been very compliant, to practice harder, to administer to a tighter set of rules. So I think the leadership on our team's been extraordinary. I'm interested to see if they can maintain it, if we can stay together through the ups and downs of a season.
Coach Vanderlyn, and Redskins have a big game up in Pittsburgh tomorrow, but there's going to be an angry bunch of Steelers waiting for them, including one Jerome Bettis. Let me take you back to Pittsburgh last week, where the Dallas Cowboys did a job on Jerome Bettis and the Steelers. The number one thing they did was to stop the bus, Jerome Bettis. Dallas held Bettis to only 63 yards, but after giving up 134 yards to Carolina's Anthony Johnson, the Skins know the road to a win in Pittsburgh starts with stopping the bus.
Well, obviously, you have to stop the bus, Jerome Bettis. You know, he's the key to their offense, but at the same time, you know, they have a great quarterback, or a good quarterback, who probably soon will be great, and you know, they have capable receivers and everything. So, you know, there's no one key, but you know, obviously, you have to first stop the run.
He's the kind of guy you can't get across the line of scrimmage. Once a guy with his weight and his speed and his strengths gets across the line of scrimmage, it's pretty tough for DBs or linebackers to tackle him, which he's the size of a linebacker. So we got to try and get him stopped on his side of the ball.
Redskins with a big one tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Well, as we leave you on this special edition of News 4 Today, we bring you more of Elton John.
Here's a special tribute to Princess Diana.
Never fading with the sunset when the rain set in, and your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.